is a lesson on probability. Probability is just another application of ratios. So there's a few definitions you need to know. Outcome is any possible result that can occur from the experiment or activity. An event is a possible result or outcome also. So they're kind of interchangeable, but you'll see as we go through the examples how they differ a little bit. And the probability is the chance of an event occurring. So probability of an event is equal to the number of favorable outcomes, a given event, divided by the number of all possible outcomes. So probability of event is number of given outcomes over number of all possible outcomes. So, for example, if we want to know if we had a six-sided dice and we want to know the probability of getting a 1 or probability of getting a number less than 3, if we said we wanted the probability of less than 3, then we know that on a six-sided dice, there's two numbers, 1 and 2. So that's my given outcome that I want, and we know that there's 6 possible outcomes altogether on a six-sided dice. So it'd be 2 out of 6. 2 given of the given event over 6 of all the possible outcomes. This can also be simplified down to 1 over 3. So that's how probability works. Probability is always between 0 and 1. Probability of 0 means the event is impossible. It is not going to happen. The probability of Mrs. Berryman slam dunking a basketball, a 10-foot basketball hoop, is 0. Okay? The probability of 1 means the event is certain to happen. So it's 100% guaranteed. So 100%, if we say, what's the probability of getting a number 1 through 6 on a six-sided dice? Well, that's guaranteed to happen because the numbers are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. When you're figuring out probability, it's a good idea to set up a sample space. That way you can list all the possible outcomes in your experiment, and then you can see and you can count how many are the given possible outcome. So one way of doing this is to make an organized table. This is one way. So if we want to look at the sum of 2 dice, six-sided dice, we could put these are the possible outcomes for one dice, these are the possible outcomes for the other dice, and just add 1 plus 1 is 2, 1 plus 2 is 3, 1 plus 3 is 4, 1 plus 4 is 5, 1 plus 5 is 6, 1 plus 6 is 7. And we can fill this out. And I think you probably can kind of see the pattern here. So this would be 6, 7, 8. 1 plus 3 is 4, 2 plus 3 is 5, 3 plus 3 is 6, 7, 8, 9. And then 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. So now we have a list of all the possible outcomes when you roll 2 dice, when we add them together. If you want to know what the probability of getting a sum of 1 is, well, we can't get a sum of 1, so that would be a probability of 0, right? If we want to know what the probability is of getting a sum of 11, well, we can see there's 6 here, there's 6 by 6, so there's 36 possible outcomes. And 2 of those. So if you want to know the probability of getting a sum of 11, it'd be 2 out of the total outcomes, which are 36 outcomes. Another way of doing this is to have make a tree. So you can make a tree like this. And this one is an example of flipping a coin. You know, when you flip a coin, you have a possibility of getting a head or a tail. So that would be the probability of getting a head on one toss would be 1 out of 2. If we toss the coin twice, then we could get a head for the first one and a head for the second one, or we could get a head for the first one and a tail for the second one. Or we could get a tail for the first one and a head for the second one, or 2 tails. So then if we flip the coin 2 times, we can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4 possible outcomes. Head, 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 tail, or tail, head, tail, tail. If we flip it a 3rd time, then we get these possible outcomes. Head, 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 tail, head, tail, head, head, tail, tail. Or if we start with a tail, we're going to get tail, head, head, tail, head, tail, 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 head, tail, tail, tail. So that is a real handy way of doing it when you have different combinations you want to look at. There's 2 different types of probability. There's experimental probability, which is based on the results of doing an experiment. So we could flip a coin 100 times and see what the results are when we flip 3 coins 100 times, and see how many of those we got a given outcome out of the total of 100 flips. Or we could do the theoretical. So if we looked at the theoretical for this one, we'd say if we flip the coin 3 times, the probability of getting all heads is going to be 1 time out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So one's based on an experiment where you actually do something, and the other one is based on theory, where it's based on your sample space that you're looking at and what the outcomes look like in that sample space. We'll be doing some activities on probability. I hope this is kind of makes sense to you. So that's all.